So, as we know now, the Tories have lost well over 1,000 seats in a local election. This has not been good. And all day yesterday, oh boy, were they coping? Boy, you bet they were. You absolutely bet they were. And to be honest, I have to say, be careful, guys. Don't get too addicted to that copium, because you will regret its absence when it's gone. Yes, we're bringing back the Bane voice. Yes, I've taken them all. It's all mine again. This is the Bane voice channel now. Soon a dramatic reading of Johnson at number 10. Oh, I can't stop, but yeah. So GB News, of all places, had the mayor, or the former mayor of Middlesbrough. He just lost to the Labour candidate, and they decided to bring him on and ask him that deadly question: what went wrong? And honestly, it was not a good idea, because they had been trying at least most of the day yesterday to try and at least acknowledge that while these local election results were coming in, oh look, we're in the background. Look, there's Buckingham Palace in the background. We're getting ready for covering the coronation, and they are covering currently the coronation live on GB News non-stop. Like I say, you can see it just in the. I can't even point to it, but you can see it in the little tab there. But yes, we are going to cover this interview, because it is very, very fascinating, and it's an insight into, as I have said, what the big panic is going to be amongst many Conservatives. And I'll tell you now, not many Conservatives, including this guy, this former mayor in Middlesbrough who lost his seat, isn't very happy. So let's go cracking on into this. But before we do that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. So let's crack on into this. So let's find out just what went wrong.
Let's get more on the local elections now, shall we? And it's been a shock defeat in Middlesbrough. Labour's Chris Cook.
I love it. Shock defeat. Oh, it was a shock defeat. No one saw this coming. This has been some of the reactions that they were. If you saw anything from GB News yesterday, everything yesterday, all these results, what a shock. What a shock. And yet, I think, as we're about to find, this guy is about to deliver some serious home truths.
Has beaten Andy Preston to be elected as the new mayor. It was a narrow win, apparently, with Mr. Cook beating Mr. Preston by just 760 votes. So it really does.
I love it. Oh, it was a narrow victory, only just 750 votes. In a local election, bear in mind, and we've said this before, local elections have such a small turnout rate compared to national elections. The average turnout rate, we don't know the full turnout rate yet. Like I say, it's normally at least a week or so before we get sort of the full breakdown and the sort of the voter turnout. So we won't really know for at least maybe sometime next week, maybe the week after. Obviously, it's a big bank holiday because of the coronation, so maybe it'll be a bit longer. So the idea that 750 was a small minority, it was a close race, isn't necessarily true, because you can see people win council seats on just that number of votes alone. So how close was it? I'm very, very much in doubt that it was as close as he claims it is.
Go to show, though, that every single vote counts. And Andy Preston can join us now, I believe. Andy, thank you for joining us. Look, commiserations, obviously. Sorry to be interviewing you under circumstances like this. It's never nice, is it? But what went wrong?
I love it. Straight into it. What went wrong? Well, we'll find out.
What went wrong? I think that, local elections, they're normally about local issues, aren't they? Like a new housing estate that's controversial or a car park that's controversial. And sometimes national issues creep in. This time, national issues are everything. People are seeing the nurses on strike. They've got less money in their pocket. There's rampant inflation, all kinds of issues. And they're looking to blame somebody in charge, the government. So what we're seeing is in the...
Yeah, you were in charge. This is how is that news? How is that obvious? I think that's pretty obvious. But one interesting thing we've been hearing, not only just from Labour candidates who've won, but Lib Dem candidates and Green candidates that have won as well. One thing they've been interestingly saying is that because of just how bad like the national Tories have been, like over the past year, like from Boris Johnson to Liz Truss, even to now, they are saying that a lot of people have also started to pay a lot more attention to the disaster of what is going on sometimes in their local politics. And it has been highlighted by the fact that, Tory councillors are failing, that they aren't really doing that good job. So it's not just it is a national thing that the people have wanted to sort of punish them for, but because the national has been so bad, people have been wondering, well, if the national is so bad, what's going on with my local council? Is it also bad as well? And interestingly enough, any bad actions by Tories on a local level who normally sometimes could scrape through with not too much of a big furore, it's been magnified. And the Labour, Lib Dems, and the Greens have all taken advantage of this. So it's not just local, it's not just national issues or local issues haven't played a part. They have in many cases, from what we're hearing. But national does have had a lot of part, and it has focused people's minds on, well, if they're that bad at a national level, what on earth's going on at the local council level? So that's been pretty interesting to see reported by the Greens, the Lib Dems, even in Labour candidates who have won.
In the red wall places where the Tories or coalitions got into power, Labour are coming back hard and fast. And in places where the Tories have been in power for a while, the Lib Dems are making real headway. So if I was Rishi Sunak, I'd be really concerned because the message is really clear and strong. We're holding your party responsible. And the writing's on the wall, I think, for the general election.
Wow. Okay, first of all, for a Tory candidate to come out and say the writing is on the wall for a general election, that's a pretty strong condemnation of Rishi Sunak. That is very strong indeed. And I know that may not sound it, but in British politics, saying something as stern as that is a pretty damning condemnation of not only just Rishi Sunak but the current Conservative Party, really. Because, like I say, most of the sort of the Conservative sort of nonsense that we have seen has been in Westminster.
Well, is there anything that you can do about it? Because if the writing is on the wall for a general election, and with respect, Andy, it has cost you a prominent position, so you must be smarting about it, and rightly so. I mean, does Rishi have to go?
Oh, spicy question indeed. That's a very spicy question. Let's see what he answers.
You know what I think? I think, obviously, as we all know, his popularity versus Keir Starmer is good. It's less about Rishi Sunak and more about the Conservative brand, in my opinion. I think it's been damaged. I don't think it's completely irreparable. I would put their probability of winning the next general election at something like 10%. but no higher than that. So they've got a mountain to climb. As we know, popularity can ebb and flow very fast in politics, but I think they've got a mountain to climb. I don't know how they can do it. I don't think the economy is going to turn around fast enough. I don't think the strikes are going to be resolved fast enough for the Tories to get out of this. And I guess that was my message today, is that national issues are seeping into local politics. And that's why we're seeing a really big sea change overnight in Middlesbrough and across the whole country, places like Windsor and everywhere else.
Again, he ain't happy with that answer. You can tell. You can tell by that. He wasn't. The presenter wasn't too happy because, like I say, GBNews pretty much a conservative, pro-party platform. He's certainly not happy with that. That maybe we don't get rid of Rishi Sunak, but the chances of winning an next general election are just not good, and it is the brand of the Conservatives. But like we've said many times before on this channel, what on earth can Sunak run on? Because he cannot run on what is essentially at this point 13 years of Tory failure. He cannot run on another austerity platform. He cannot run on a Brexit platform. He just can't run on anything. And he's right, the economy is not going to turn around. These strikes are probably only going to get worse, because we are not just seeing doctors and nurses strikes. In many sectors throughout the UK, we are seeing other people realize, well, actually, we probably want to look at going on strike as well. Amazon, the Amazon workers are going on strike at the moment to try and unionize there. They're going on strike. It's happening all over the place. Teachers going on strike soon as well. So I agree with him. I think 10% is very optimistic. I think 10% is very optimistic. I'd put it even lower than that. In fact, I'd probably put it lower than, probably in the 0.0 percentage. But yeah, they haven't got anything really they can run on. And the chances of turning this around in what is really a quite short time, there doesn't really seem to be too much hope for them.
Yeah, and I can't help but wonder whether the answer may be staring Rishi Sunak in the face, which is that at the last general election, a big barnstorming, thumping majority was won for an individual who, waved the flag a little bit, so he's going to get Brexit done.
Is he talking about bringing back Boris Johnson? Okay, if Rishi Sunak even contemplated for a second bringing back Boris Johnson, he would be absolutely annihilated. The idea that Boris Johnson is still popular is well and truly over. We saw a couple of months ago where he went to this conference and he did his usual Borising about. The audience wasn't impressed. They didn't laugh along with him. They laughed at him, which to Boris Johnson does not happen. They laugh along with him. They laugh at his antics, but they do not laugh at him. So this Boris magic, this election magic, is really over. And if you are that desperate to suggest that bringing back Boris Johnson is the only way, like, Sunak could win, yeah, you've more than lost. You've more than lost the plot there.
Done, and said it essentially promised everyone that they were going to be a little bit wealthier. Now, Boris Johnson overtaken by events, to say the very least, and yes, overtaken by scandal. I say this with my eyes wide open, hold the media very responsible for the situation that Boris Johnson found himself in, more so than potentially the actual facts of what went on there. But Rishi Sunak has...
Wait. There is no more person responsible for what happened to Boris Johnson than Boris Johnson. He was the architect of his own downfall. The idea that it was the media who was solely responsible. No, because who eventually took out Boris Johnson? It was Rishi Sunak. So the idea that Boris wasn't responsible for his own downfall is ridiculous. But you keep on, you keep on believing that nonsense, my friends.
Hasn't come in after a short spell by Liz Truss, and he's got Jeremy Hunt next to him, and it's not looking very conservative. Is that a problem?
Do you know what I think people want? People want to believe that there's strong, stable leadership. There's the first thing. But they have to believe that the future's better than the past. And what Boris was brilliant at was selling this dream that the future's going to be golden. It almost never was, but people kept believing him. But there wasn't the strong, stable leadership. So I think Hunt and Sunak do offer that stability, that credibility, the old-fashioned values. But what they're not doing is selling an image of or an ideal of a golden future. That's what they've got to do. But that's going to be exceedingly tough when you've got nurses on strike, when you've got issues with transport, the train unions and others, when people have got less money in their pocket. I don't know how you sell that. I really don't know.
That is the exact question everyone else is asking. Just how does Rishi Sunak, what is his plan for the next general election? Because it seemed that essentially when you came to the local election of, the Tories were okay. It didn't really work. And especially not for this guy, who was a former Tory mayor of Middlesbrough. It didn't work for him.
All right. And look, your prediction then is that you think Labour will win the next general election.
That's my prediction. You know what? I have to declare an interest here. I put 90 quid on them. I got slightly better than evens a few weeks ago for them to win a majority. So I've got a bit of skin in the game.
Wow. Here is a former Tory mayoral candidate who is not only saying on national TV, but GBNews, not only is he saying, yeah, Labour's going to win a majority, but I am so confident I've put money on them winning. And you can see the host reaction of, oh, oh, have we invited the right person on? Because we are desperately trying to reassure our viewers that these election results weren't that bad.
Whether they will win, I don't know, but I think evens is a good price. They look set to do well. Keir Starmer's not, in my opinion, not delivering. He's not inspiring. He's not cutting it, but he's keeping quiet. And the Tories aren't managing to win people back. And so long as the nurses are on strike, they're going nowhere.
Look,
he just doesn't know what to say to that. He just didn't know what to say. You can even see it in his body language going, he just didn't know what to say.
I've got to ask on this. You'd bet on Labour winning the next general election whilst you were still campaigning to be the Conservative mayor of Middlesbrough.
Oh, I'm independent. First of all, no, I'm independent.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not Conservative.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault.
Okay.
Apologies. It's been a whirlwind evening for me as well. No, sorry. But you'd bet on Labour.
I bet on Labour, and I must stress, I bet some time ago before I started campaigning. But no, I think it was a good price. I mean, I was betting because the price is right. So my money's on Labour. I think Sunak and the Tories have got a mountain to climb. Right now, everybody feels that next year is going to be worse than this year. Nobody feels optimistic. If they can restore optimism, they'll do well. But they need someone to come in and do that.
He ain't got a chance. Hasn't got a chance. That interview was a bit of a car crash for GBNews, especially that presenter who was like, and also they'd clearly not done their research because he turned out to be an independent. I mean, fool me for not watching the clip through. because I watched up to um the the clip before of him declaring that, and just seeing the reaction of the host. So yeah, that's my mistake if I also said that he was a Tory candidate. But yeah, that's poor GB News, and probably me as well for not watching the full clip through. But needless to say, that was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. The fact that you've got a guy going, yeah, I bet on Labour to win. And then the host reaction was like, we've got a Tory candidate who just bet on Labour to win. What do I even follow up with that? Oh my word. I am still waiting for the reaction of what is going to be from Conservative Home, because it turned out they were live blogging about this. Mostly last night, and they stopped mostly in the morning, but their reaction so far from the bits and pieces that they put out on that live blogging, they weren't happy. They were not happy. So I highly suspect today, maybe they might put out something, maybe they might not, but I'll be very interested to see if Liz Truss comes out of somewhere and starts saying how maybe she would have avoided all this if the Tories had kept her, or Boris Johnson comes out and said, well, if you'd kept me in. We will have to wait and see what the fallout is, because I will tell you now, they might all go a bit radio silent because of the coronation today and potentially over the weekend. But next week, they're going to come out swinging, and they're going to come out swinging against Sunak. Because remember, he was put in, or they put him in, because this was the guy who was going to solve all their problems, be a safe pair of hands, as you saw mentioned there. He was going to, refix and align the Tory party. But what's he got to sell? He hasn't got anything to sell to the British public except a long litany of failures. So, yeah, highly funny, highly hilarious, and I'm waiting for more stuff because, oh boy, it's going to be fun.
But in the meantime, remember to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Remember, it's your pal Bane ending this video. So hit the like and share button. And don't forget to subscribe. And check out the Patreon page and the Buy Me a Coffee link below.
So, as always, thank you very much. It's all that copium from yesterday. It's affecting me. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.